Welcome to Convo Lounge, Expression, Exposure, Experience. Welcome to the Convo Lounge podcast, yet another episode of the Convo Lounge podcast. My name is Bakang. Thank you very much for joining us. And remember, we are continuing to build our community online. So follow us using the hashtag Convo Lounge Africa, and you could get a chance to receive our monthly industry insights, as well as anything that is coming up on Convo Lounge. And today we are going to be having a conversation with the first ever Motswana woman to be on the cover of Forbes magazine. Or you want to introduce yourself in another way?
No, that's pretty good. I like that. Yes. Hi.
How has been the experience? Thank you very much for coming through to the Convo Lounge podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. So my name is Dr. Wedu Somolekae, and I am the first female Motswana, like you said, to be on the 30 under 30 Forbes Africa list, and also to be on the cover of the Forbes Africa magazine. I'm also an aesthetic doctor, so I'm a medical doctor and the founder of a clinic called Medi Glow Aesthetics, which is the reason I'm on the Forbes Africa list.
Fantastic. How has the experience been? Let's take us back to that morning when you got the call to say you have made it onto the under 30 list.
It's been amazing. I mean, the morning or the day I received that information, I was really ecstatic, but I also couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It took some time for it to actually sink in. I think more at the summit, that's when it became more real, like, oh my gosh, I made the list, I'm on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just been amazing. It's just a nice feeling.
All right. So looking at you being a Forbes under 30 Africa lister, what are some of the benefits that you are getting from it? Because there's been, issues around, the benefit of the summit coming to Botswana, what the benefit of it. Let's talk about that experience for you, how it has been.
So becoming a lister for me, basically the 30 under 30 list is meant to highlight people or young people who are making waves in the different industries that they are in, change makers, innovators. I know Forbes is associated a lot with billionaires and millionaires and it's all these lists. But the 30 under 30 is less about how much money you're making and more just about how you're moving in your industry and the potential that you have. And so for me, like getting on it was obviously an honor, and I was really excited to be recognized. It has been a difficult road or journey because it is an industry that's not really developed in Botswana. So getting that nod to say, well done, keep going, has been very, very encouraging, and seeing fellow listers and the differences that they're making in their own industries and in their communities. And so somebody who studies a list or has a look will understand the value of it. For example, there's a lister in Nigeria, Blessing Abeng. She runs a tech company that sort of helps people who in tech who can't find employment, or people who have degrees but because of their lack of technical skills or lack of tech knowledge aren't able to get jobs. So they just empower them with that training, and they've trained up to, I think they said 50,000 people so far and helped them get jobs.
Yeah.
And so if you go through the list and just see what people are up to, the inspiration that it holds, there's so much of it, and it just is very encouraging for young people all over Africa.
Yeah.
The summit in itself is where everybody gets to meet, and so that also opens your mind. You get to meet people who are doing different things, and that challenges you as well, or encourages you in terms of expanding your business or doing more for your business or starting something that you've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And so it's just all in all a way to just wake everybody up to say there's a lot available to you. Don't be discouraged about whatever situation you see where. and it gives you an example to say, look, here's someone in Rwanda.
Yeah.
This country's like this, but this is what they're doing. What do you think you could do? And so it's just a way to empower the youth with knowledge, with skills, with opportunities. It's jam-packed with a lot for young Batswana.
All right. You did mention that you are a medical doctor. You studied for your medicine degree. Let's go through that journey, how it came about, your interest in medicine, and what sparked you to get into such an industry.
Okay, so I was born and raised Mogaborone, and I attended my primary and my secondary school here. And then I went on to tertiary at the University of Botswana. And that's where, honestly, going into medicine, it's one of those things that as you're growing up, everybody, not everyone, but a lot of people say, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an accountant or this or that.
Yeah.
So up until it was time to choose courses, that's when it was just like, oh, okay, I qualify. This is actually, a good idea. So as I was going through the course, that's when I realized I really love it and I have a passion for it.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2017.
Yeah.
And from there worked for the government, did my internship at Princess Marina for a year, and then moved to Masunga. That's where they placed me for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And during that time, that's when my interest in aesthetic medicine now came about.
Yeah.
I was on a trip with my friend to Joburg, and she visited an aesthetic doctor there. And get this, she went to see Dr. Nandipa.
Oh, okay.
The infamous Dr. Nandipa.
Yeah.
But at the time, she was running her clinic. And so my friend had an issue with her skin. And I was very curious, like why and where and how did she come about, to do aesthetic medicine, to have this clinic. And that's where the journey started.
Yeah. But let's go back to you working for the government, actually having to quit that and start your own practice. The transition from, being an employee now to being an employer or having your own startup that you are operating. How did that transition come about? I think on its own, it's just a big risk to take.
Absolutely. It definitely is. And it's not something I expected to do so soon.
Yeah.
I definitely was pushed into it because aesthetic medicine is a very new industry. It's in its infancy in Botswana. So at the time that I decided to resign, I really had hope that someone would hire me to do aesthetics. I thought it would be exciting enough for someone to say, oh yeah, come on board, join my clinic or do this, but people aren't so welcoming of new ideas, or they aren't as welcoming as I thought they would be. And so that pushed me to say, well, this is still something I really want to do no matter what. And so if no one's going to hire me, then I'll just start my own thing.
But was there a place for you to actually go for such locally? Or you were just, in terms of actually being someone, an employee at someone's clinic?
I actually approached some dermatologists.
Okay.
So there's a difference between an aesthetic doctor and dermatologist.
Yeah.
They are more pathology inclined, meaning it's about sickness of the skin, of the nails, of the hair, whereas aesthetics is more cosmetic. So I thought I could add that side of things to a dermatology clinic, and if not, then a GP clinic.
Yeah.
So it was just pitching to say, let me work here and add this service additionally to what you already have.
Yeah.
So it was just like, how much money is that gonna need?
Yes.
Like, what do you need? And after breaking down things like that, it was like, no, I don't think we need this at the moment, especially because Batswana don't know much about it.
My next question was going to be that, to say, the market in itself, how is the market? Perhaps maybe in terms of risk taking, it would have been a bigger risk to take, looking at the return on investment that would actually come from that. How has that been going for you? The reception of Batswana with this line of business?
I think it's pretty good. It is an untapped market, in my opinion. And it's the kind of thing where I've realized I had to create a demand. So a lot of people don't know they need aesthetic services until you tell them that actually I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for you, and it will make your life 10 times better. And so it's about, for me, the market is there. I just need to reach it and let them know that we provide these services and that they're here for them close by. Because I have met a few people who even at this point will say, oh, I happened to find you, but before that, a friend of mine had said I should go to Joburg to such and such a place. And so most people aren't aware, but once they become aware, it's like, I'm so happy I didn't have to fly to Joburg or take a bus there. I just had to come here.
You did mention that when you look at the cost element of starting up such a business, how much are we talking in the ranges of actually getting to start such an establishment and you having to take that risk? What were you trying to or looking to gain actually from that? Or it was just something that because you've got the passion for it, you just believe that the passion will actually drive you to now become a bit more profitable and be sustainable?
I think it's a little bit of both. So passion-wise, for sure, like I have a fire in me. I'm really passionate about aesthetic medicine. I love it. I find it very fulfilling. Investment-wise, even the training itself is not cheap. And all of the training I did was in South Africa. So I had to invest in myself for starters to say, I'm going to save up and pay for this training and attend all of it. So that was the first part of the investment. Even initially, in terms of, so there's a bit of retail involved. I do sell medical grade skincare products and the like. So that also required a bit of money to, acquire those things and equipment and such. So in the beginning, I will be a bit candid about it and say I started off with 50K. And that was from, if you work for any organization, there's a package you get when you leave. So when I resigned, I did get a little something. And so I used all of it to, buy my first few things from South Africa. Yes.
So in terms of support, I'm just imagining your family, your parents, they've taken you to the university, you become this young doctor, and all of a sudden you have a permanent employment and then you quit to say, I'm going to start my own thing. Let's go through the process because I think a lot of, especially us, Batswana, in terms of us starting our own businesses, our families really want us to start and go to get an employment, get a job, get loans and have a standard way of life. But you actually having to come out of such an environment and actually going to an untapped territory. How has that experience been and the support around the people that are supporting you in your business?
Initially, sort of talking to my parents, to them, I think it was just in theory. When I started going for training and paying to go that side, I think that's when they started to take me a little bit more seriously. I am naturally a stubborn person. Like when I'm set on doing something, it takes a lot to dissuade me. So it was just one of those things where other than talking about it, I was also showing it in action to say, this is what I'm doing, and, registering the company and telling them about my plans. It sort of gave them an idea of what it is I was trying to do. But it wasn't easy. And then eventually, as things were taking shape, the support grew stronger. But they did, even from the get-go, when I was quitting, I stayed with my parents for some time. So they were happy to have me. And even when I started doing chemical peels and the products, they were buying a few things, and I was doing stuff on their skin from my aunt's living room. So their support was really great from the beginning.
Then what were the challenges that you actually got to experience along the journey of you transitioning from that work to starting your business and how the business is operating right now?
I mean, first and foremost, like we talked about, us coming from a permanent position.
Yeah.
I was used to a fixed salary, and also that came with a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, it was a big sacrifice because I couldn't afford a lot of things anymore. At the time, I had taken out a loan for my car. So I had a small car. So that was my main focus, to say every month I should at least have enough to cover it.
Yeah.
I was staying at home. So, anybody, if you as an adult staying in someone's
Sort
house,
of like a downgrade from that other lifestyle to, you now becoming a baby again.
Yes, and being told what to do and being told you have to be home at this time. And, so that was the sacrifice on my part personally. But the other challenges had to do with the fact that because it's an industry in its infancy, nobody's producing any of the things that I need. I needed to get a lot of things from South Africa across the border. There were costs that came with that. There were regulation issues, having to look to see what BOMRA allows and what it doesn't. Then, of course, reaching the market that I need to, how to go about, making sure the message reaches the people that we needed to reach.
Yeah.
So marketing, that was the biggest challenge for me. And honestly, as it is now, I'm trying my best in terms of using social media platforms and being on the radio or, let's say, television. But word of mouth has also been the biggest thing, because anybody trusts a referral from a friend.
Yeah.
If someone has experienced it and tells you I went, you're more likely to go, as opposed to just seeing an ad on Facebook.
Yeah. All right. Let's go for a break. When we come back, I want us to talk more about your business, the products that you offer within your business, and let's say how we could actually get to support the industry to actually grow, because what we want to eventually see is creation of employment for other young Batswana, so that we could grow each other and advance forward. Right, this is the Convo Lounge podcast. We are going for a break. When we come back, we are going to continue. Remember that you could be part of our conversation by going onto our WhatsApp line, which is +267 76 992, or you can actually go onto our Facebook profile or our social media platforms and just use the hashtag Convo Lounge Africa.
Convo Lounge, expression, exposure, experience.
Right, welcome back to the Convo Lounge podcast, and today we are hanging out with Dr. Wedu Somolekae from Medi-Glow Clinic. We're just going to talk all about Medi-Glow Clinic and the aesthetic industry in Botswana. Just before we went for our break, we're just having a conversation around your transition from being a doctor with the government now to starting your own business. And through all of this, one would get to wonder how your mental health was at that state. Moving the transitions, was it easy? What did you have to battle with so that you could keep on to that vision of achieving the dream that you had before you?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I think a big part, like we talked about, getting support from family, which is almost a given. Not for everybody, but that I expected. I think what got to me at times was the negativity around it. Even leaving a place I was working, I'd have people say, well, who does she think she is? What? She's just gonna fall flat on her face and come back and work for government like everybody else, So just you have your own self-doubt, but even those negative voices, when they come from people that you've met, it's really difficult to push through that. I'd had my days when I was really, really down, especially even when the business was starting. I'd have days where there was nobody coming into the clinic, and I'd just still be there from 9 to 5, just seated there, waiting, hoping. I was doing my own social media at the time, so I'd just keep busy by making posters, with Canva, just like trying my best to get it out there and keep at it and not give up. So it wasn't easy at all.
Now let's get now to your business, the Medi Glow Clinic. What it actually is, the services that you provide, and let's start there.
Okay, so it's Medi Glow Aesthetics is an aesthetic clinic. Basically, aesthetics, when something is aesthetically pleasing, it means it's easy on the eye. It looks good.
Yeah.
So we're all about medical procedures that enhance your cosmetic appearance. So we deal with skin, so facial aesthetics and body aesthetics. So with the skin, we offer services that help with issues like acne, dipimpole, pigmentation, and aging, people with oily skin, large pores, issues like that. So we offer chemical peels, facials, dermaplaning, microneedling, a bit of Botox and fillers. And then we do a procedure called a vampire facial with platelet-rich plasma.
Yeah.
We also do hairline restoration. So if your hairline is receding, and then body aesthetics, lipolytic injections, medical weight loss.
Yeah.
So the challenge I spoke about marketing is I can be listing these and someone will just be like, what is all
What
of
is she
that?
talking about?
Like,
Hey,
yeah.
But they want the glow.
They want the glow, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what it's geared towards.
Yeah.
I think in terms of health, a lot of people just know I'm fine and I'm sick.
Yeah.
But there's wellness. So there's a difference between being fine and 100% feeling good, looking good, and being fine to say, like I'm not sick. So it's healthy. Being healthy is not just an absence of disease, but it's feeling your best.
Yeah.
And so we're sort of in that in between where it's like, well, I'm not happy about my skin, but you're not going to go to the doctor and say, my skin is bothering me, unless you have a rash or something big. Yeah. And so we're saying, okay, you're not happy about it. What bothers you about your skin? It's like, no, I have these large pores or these dark spots or this, and it really affects my confidence. I wear makeup 24/7, you know? And so I'm here to say, well, just because you're not sick, just because I can't diagnose you and say, oh, it's this, doesn't mean we can't assist. If you're feeling tired all the time, we have IV vitamin drips, which have proven to be really good for the skin and the body. And so, we just basically make you feel beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have any locals that you've actually employed to work with you on your project?
Yes. So at the moment, I have a staff of about 6, and they're all Batswana, young Batswana. 4 of them are on a full-time basis, and 2 of them are part-time. So in the clinic, I have an executive assistant who's also my receptionist, Patrick. Okay. And then I have a beauty therapist and a physician's assistant. And I have somebody who cleans the clinic as well. So, and then on a part-time basis, I have an accountant on retainer, as well as a social media guy who does all my posters and pictures and stuff like that. And legal assistance, she's not on a retainer, but I do call her when I have any issues with contracts or somebody's bothering me.
This is very impressive because when you look at some of the businesses as we try to create them, we're trying to look for solutions that could actually bring the levels of unemployment in our country down. And by supporting companies such as yours or the industry, this is how actually you get to grow. Where do you see the company going in the next foreseeable future in terms of getting more, either increasing your product line, and I think with increasing your services that you provide, it would need even more people to be employed to do that?
So the nice thing about getting word out is that a lot of people have been requesting the services even outside Gaborone.
Yeah.
And those are people I would one day want to reach. And so the bigger picture for me would be to have branches outside Gaborone. Yeah. And obviously I can't be in all those places at once. So there will be people in charge of those branches. There'll be people working there. So I think that will definitely contribute towards increasing or or battling unemployment in the country. Also, just there has been a lot of interest in aesthetics, and people DM me, inbox me, ask me, how do I get into it? This is what I studied. What do I need to do? So I think even providing such trainings locally, I wanted to start with maybe just an intro course for beauty therapists who have maybe like a certificate in beauty therapy or some such, just to expose them to say, this is what aesthetics is. These are the kinds of procedures that you do, and this is the skin, this is the body. So training will also empower somebody to start something for themselves, not necessarily a clinic, but some of the services can be offered by beauty therapists outside.
Also, you don't necessarily have to be a doctor. Go through general medicine.
So there's certain procedures that can only be done by doctors, and that's something the public should know, because as time goes on, a lot of people are coming up and wanting to do everything.
And get into
So there are those that really you'd prefer or want a doctor doing them. But there are also those that under the right training or in the right hands can be done by a beauty therapist or a somatologist. So bringing in training would be nice. And then in terms of products, actually during the summit, I met a doctor who's working in South Africa. Her name is Dr. Lou. She has her own skincare line, which she's brought and she's marketing. A young female from South Africa. So we had a chat, and I'll be bringing in her products. But one day I want to have my own range as well, starting with sunscreen, because people in Botswana do not use sunscreen.
I mean, sunscreen we feel like they're for Caucasians.
Exactly.
And I'm too dark to be applying sunscreen.
That's what everybody thinks. So I think having maybe just that product alone would do really well, but it would also help protect everybody's skin. Yeah.
So let's look at some of the initiatives as you expand your business. I'm thinking plastic surgery and making some modifications to your body. Is it something that your clinic or in terms of what you would do, you can actually get to do that? Nowadays, a certain gender, I'll go to as far as techie for such procedures and all of that. Would it be something that you would perhaps maybe are looking to bring into the country, or you'd need to go further or deeper training for that?
I'm definitely open to it. Aesthetics is more non-invasive or non-surgical. So we don't do anything that puts you under as an anesthesia. Everything is you right there, minimally invasive. And the beauty industry is moving to, or the aesthetic industry it's moving towards simplifying a lot of surgical procedures. So initially Botox, for example, was only done by plastic surgeons, then dermatologists, and now we get to do it. And things like BBLs and all, they used to be very complicated procedures, but there's a way to even do them while somebody like just looking at you. So as things advance, I'm definitely open to learning and bringing in such services to the country. And let's look now into maybe perhaps you are still new into the industry, but you mentioned that there are people who are reaching out to you for asking questions of how to go into this industry. How would you say would be a better way to come up with sort of like a framework that would be easier for other people to get into this industry, so that if there are things that you need to fight together or come together to advocate for, it becomes a bit more easier for you to approach it as a collective? I think that's it's very important. Like you're saying, a collective. For now, we don't have any associations or bodies that represent people in aesthetics. So it would be nice to have that kind of organization, such that there can be better regulation and people can get mentorship and advice. I think someone who's looking to go into the industry definitely has to do their homework.
Yeah.
I had to speak to people in other countries and to find out how they're doing things. And so from a doctor's perspective, it's a lot easier for me to advise for like in terms of how to operate a clinic and under the regulations that we have in the country. In terms of beauty therapists, I tend to just advise more training.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying there's a gap there, because I will say, okay, it's either you're planning on getting a medical degree, which means you can follow the path I've taken. If not, then it's kind of, these are the academies or schools that I know in South Africa that offer the training that you're looking for. And so there's a lot of room there or gaps. It's not a thing to, the path hasn't been beaten out yet for most. And so even for my path now, I'm just taking it a day at a time.
Yes. So let's quickly go into business training. Training to be in business and actually having a sustainable operating business. How did that come about? Did you get some sort of training, or what is the driving force behind your entrepreneurship journey?
So the only business training that I got was during COVID. I did a business management fundamentals course with the University of Stellenbosch. It was a 6-week course with about 9 or 10 modules. And that sort of gave me an idea, but that was probably a year and a half before I started the business. So I've basically been winging it on the business side. I'm getting advice from different people on what needs to be in place. There is no manual that I'm following. And I mean, I'm very much open to getting training and all of that, and trying my best to balance that with getting more medical training. So I just learned it as I went along, made some mistakes, and was taught the better way to do things. And that's how it's
what
been.
could be your advice then to a young person who perhaps maybe they have studied a certain industry or into a certain industry and are not getting employment in that industry, to now transition to actually creating employment for themselves like you did?
So I think mentorship is important, and finding, the thing is, if you've been trained in one thing and you want to do something else, there has to be a driving force behind that. Why do you want to do that? If it's solely just for employment, then you do need a lot of guidance. And so mentorship is important. Getting more training, I suppose, can help as well. And never giving up. Your
parting words?
My parting words, obviously, I'd like to share where our clinic is and how to reach us.
Please do that.
So it's Medi Glow Aesthetics. We're located at plot 21179 in Village. Our number is 71642681. That's our WhatsApp line, but you can also call in to make an appointment. And just to any young person out there, but even an older person who's, who has a dream in their heart and really wants to try it but is feeling discouraged, I just hope that my story has inspired you to go for it. And obviously it won't be an easy road and you'll want to give up at times, but you definitely have to keep reaching for the stars.
They should follow you on TikTok. I got to learn more about that procedure where you use somebody's blood.
Yes, in a TikTok video.
Yes.
So it's Dr. Soms on TikTok. I do like sharing a bit of skin tips over there and sharing videos on the different procedures that I do. So definitely do follow on TikTok if you want to learn more about that.
They must follow you for that daily skin routine. Thank you very much for coming through. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we come to the end of this episode of the Convo Lounge podcast. Remember that we are taking your suggestions and continue this conversation online. Use our WhatsApp line +267 7651 992, or just follow us on our social media platforms using the hashtag Convo Lounge Africa. Bye.
Convo Lounge. Expression, exposure, experience.